Welcome to the Empowered Life. I am your friend, Ern Inyon. This podcast aims to inspire you to create the life that you want to live. If you are not yet a subscriber, be sure to subscribe and get notified when a new episode is posted. Now let's go on with the show. Hi friends, it's episode 7. As I mentioned in the previous episode, every parent wants the best for their children, right? As a parent, what do you want for your child? You can pause this and come back after thinking about it. As parents, if only we can give the world to our kids, right? When my son Ethan asked for donuts, we would make sure we buy donuts within the day. Currently my in-laws are with us and they love playing and giving something to the kid. But what do we really want for our kids? Okay, consider this scenario. Let us say you are in a forest with your kid. Okay, so you have been in that forest many times and it is the first time for your kid. So while you were walking, you came to a path and it has a huge sign and it says, "The path to destruction." Yeah, that's what the sign says. The path to destruction leads to laziness, irresponsibility, boredom, deceit, arrogance, and selfishness. No question. Will you lead your child to that path? Okay, so your answer would probably be no, right? No. So, because no decent parent would lead his child to that path. So, why is it that many young adults growing up to be lazy, irresponsible, deceitful, selfish, and arrogant? It seems unintentionally we led them to that path of destruction. I say unintentionally because you have to be a horrible parent if you knew, right? So where did we fail? As parents, we need to be intentional with how we guide our kids. We must be very clear on this. Avoid being vague like I want my son to be successful or I want him to be rich. The way to do this is to think of virtues. Okay. For me, I want my son to be responsible, compassionate, highly motivated, generous, kind, joyful, and loving. So how do we do this? Well, the answer is we need to avoid entitlement. Okay, what is entitlement? Entitlement is the attitude of people who think that they can have, should have, and deserve whatever they want, whatever their friends have, and they should have it now, and not have to earn it or give up anything for it. And wow, it gives you an illusion that someone will always bail you out. Someone will pay your debt. So this poison is inflicting our social classes. All social classes, the poor, the middle class, and the rich. You can see it everywhere. The poor always blames the government, that politician who promised them a comfortable life during election campaign. The middle class and the rich, just wants to play video games all day because, well, why do you need to work? Because daddy and mommy are there to provide me with everything I need anyway. Of course, not all poor people are like this. Not all middle class and rich people are like this. For example, Lance Gokongwei, President and CEO of JG Summit, and the son of the late tycoon John Gokongwei. Lance graduated summa cum laude, yet his dad started him from the bottom of their company. His office was in the warehouse and gave him a second-hand car with no aircon. Tessie C. Coson, the daughter of the late tycoon Henry C., started working when she was 13. When she was just 22, she already helped open SM's first department store. Manny Pacquiao, for example, the legendary boxer, just focused on what he was good at to pull his family out of poverty. He didn't have time to blame the government and took matters into his own hands, literally. So, entitlement also plagues not just the young, but also the adults. I have a friend, when she was growing up, she was the darling of the family. She was given all the toys that she wanted. She went to grade schools. She was given a car when she was in college, and a house when she got married. One time, she got herself in trouble with her credit card, and she owed the bank millions. So to bail her out, you know what? Her dad sold their house at a bargain and paid the bank. She didn't bother to get a job and always relied on her parents. Her parents have died already, and now, in a senior age, she is financially broke. Her kids are unemployed and have mental issues. You see, entitlement is also the reason why people abuse their power. This is true not just for people in power, but also the relatives of people in power. There are tons of funny stories about this. I remember a friend of mine, let's call him Jim, told the story that he was caught by a traffic enforcer after beating a red light. When the enforcer asked Jim his license, he told the enforcer that he was on his way to his uncle General Perez. Then he called up in his mobile phone another friend to talk to the enforcer, and his friend talked to the enforcer pretending to be General Perez. So after talking, the enforcer released Jim. And this is a true story. So it is true that success is relative. When you are successful, you have many relatives. During election campaign, everyone pretends to know President Bongbong Marcos, Duterte, and other political leaders and prominent businessmen. There are people in power who also abuse their power. Okay, now, where's this entitlement coming from? Well, the main culprit is when we as parents, we give in to our kids' wants, not to their needs. Especially parents who are working. We are guilty of not spending time with our kids. So to compensate, we give in. We spoil them instead of making time. Another reason is social media. Kids nowadays are growing up in a reality show world. They can broadcast themselves easily and generate reactions from people everywhere in seconds. This gives them the idea that they are famous character. When you put yourself at the center of the universe, you have high expectations. Okay? They expect people to react as if they are entitled to people's time. Another reason is we live in a world of instant gratification. Instant noodles, credit cards. Because of this, kids do not appreciate the value of hard work and patience. Just to share with you, one of my biggest financial failures happened when I started working. I consider myself practical. I don't spend expensive things, especially for myself. So within a few years, I was, after I started working, I was able to save some money. However, since I was financially stupid at that time, I bought a brand new car on installment. So the main reason I bought the car because I felt I was deprived as a teenager. Okay. Looking back, I didn't really need a car. I was fine commuting to work. I didn't have any girlfriend at that time also. So I could have invested it in stocks. Okay, so Is there anything that we're entitled to? So that is the question. Well, as toddlers, we were entitled to be fed and nurtured. Well, that's how far entitlement can go. After that, we are on our own. We need to figure out our way in this world. Okay, so if there's a person, if your parents are guiding you, that's a huge blessing. If there's someone mentoring you, that's a huge blessing. Teenagers are not entitled to gadgets. If your parents gave you one, cherish it. It doesn't mean that your classmate has an iPad, you should have an iPad also. That doesn't work that way. So because they're not obligated to give you one. Education can take many forms. Not just putting a child to school. Your home is bigger than the school. If your parents are doing their best to put you in school, much more if you are in elite schools, please thank them every day. Honor them by doing your best. You are there to study. Then study. You see, what entitlement does is it gives you what you don't need. Laziness, indulgence, conceit, and dullness. At the same time, it robs you from what you need. The sense of fulfillment, responsibility, independence, inventiveness. Entitlement stifles initiative and encourages self-centeredness. It destroys the connection between effort and reward. Entitled people feel that the world owes them a living. If you put yourself at the center of everything, you think everything will bow down to you. Okay, so how do we fix this? If you see your child has been inflicted by entitlement, what do? Okay, the solution is sense of ownership. First and most important is ownership in the family. Kids need to feel they are part of the family. They also need to be consulted. They need to have a voice. They need to be valued. Okay. If they feel unvalued, unconsulted, both security and self-responsibility will suffer. By valuing them and consulting, giving them a voice in the family, what we're doing is we're strengthening their character, their identity in the family. So do you know why kids join gangs? Because they need an identity and they haven't found that in their families. Your family should be the first gang or the first barkada. I'm so grateful that my wife and I have decided to homeschool our son Ethan. At the height of the pandemic, we gave him chores. He was in charge of setting the dining table at 5 years old. When he plays with his toys and clay, he cleans up after. He likes watering the plants. When we buy groceries, he will help in unloading the grocery bags. I am glad we didn't get a yaya for him. We really bonded well. Lunch and dinner are very important times also. For me, it is sacred. We have to eat together with no gadgets. Our son has great sense of humor and I always get a good laugh with him. He considers me as his best friend. Me and Huggy Wuggy. Okay. We are slowly getting him involved in our business. So he needs to see how my wife and I work so that he can value it. And he can be influenced with it. For me, this is a powerful culture that we're creating. One of the greatest blessings we have. This is why I love family business, because you are together while earning a living. How cool is that? Thank you so much for listening, friends. Please rate and review this podcast and share it to your friends. Until next time, blessings always.